Hello and welcome to the Guardian Football Weekly. Arne Slot's football heart broken by Wolves. A deflected stoppage time winner brings joy to Molineux. Is the greatest escape on? Well, no, of course it isn't. But the joy at Molineux. Elsewhere, pulses weren't exactly racing, but significant wins for Everton, who break their home hoodoo against a still crestfallen Burnley. Leeds lose under the lights to Sunderland, and Bournemouth and Brentford play out a goalless draw. The midweek round continues with a promising set of fixtures tonight. How many corners will Arsenal score against Brighton? And how long will they take over them? The Lionesses begin their inevitable march to World Cup glory with a big qualifying win against Ukraine, and the Premier League turns to trolling. All that, plus your questions, and that's today's Guardian Football Weekly. So Max is on his way back to the Southern Hemisphere, answering the call from his wife Jamie after little Willie Rushton decided to stop sleeping in his father's absence. What a bloody hero he is. And he has our full support and empathy, doesn't he, Barry Glendenning?
Yes, and we and all our listeners were very much sleeping in his presence. I just hope he's not flying home via the Middle East. I reckon he's getting the Heathrow to Perth long haul. So good luck to him anyway, however he gets home.
Joining Barry on the panel today, John Jarrett-Bryan. Good morning.
Morning, Robyn.
And my commentary colleague / nemesis, you decide, Seb Hutchinson. No, we're very supportive of each other, aren't we?
Yeah, we are, Robyn. Absolutely. Yeah.
But yeah,
sounds
ITV,
convincing.
boo.
No fighting, guys. No fighting. Defund the BBC.
This is our sort of Anchorman style meeting, isn't it? Anyway, to the football and the highlight really of last night, which wasn't great, but Wolves 2, Liverpool 1, a really pretty bad first half, but this really came into life in the last 15 minutes. I mean, it was pretty incredible. I mean, Barry, first of all, another really good result for Wolves and another pretty disappointing display from Liverpool.
Yeah, I think before we get into the weeds of this game, it's probably worth saying that while the Premier League is suffering this existential crisis, we have to take our hats off to all 8 teams who contributed to last night's free-flowing feast of magnificent football. It certainly restored my faith in humanity and football. Yeah, this was a brilliant result for Wolves. We'll probably focus, as usual, on Liverpool's shortcomings more than how good Wolves were in the last 15 minutes of this game. But Rob Edwards is really getting a tune out of them now, and it's a shame it took him so long. You know, he was tuning up that guitar for quite a long time before they started getting any results, but that was another really good win for them, another excellent occasion for a Molineux crowd who've had very little to cheer about this season. They scored, I thought, 2 good goals and probably deserved to win a game that was pretty low on quality. Nothing much of note happened in the first half, but when it did spark into life, Wolves were worthy winners, I think, and they took advantage of Liverpool's shortcomings. It's difficult to know what to make of this Liverpool team. Arne Slot obviously said what he said in the build-up to this game about not really enjoying Premier League football, and this was a bit of a self-own because his Liverpool team this season haven't been great to watch. I think too many big-name players aren't performing well enough. And they're now in a chase for 5th place, which is not what most of us were expecting at the start of the season. I certainly thought they'd retain their title fairly easily.
We'll get into Liverpool, but we should give Wolves their flowers, shouldn't we? And it's interesting, isn't it? Because I mean, they are relegated, let's be honest, and all but, we should say. You're especially pleased with this result because it makes the Arsenal draw look actually brilliant, doesn't it? On the back
At least we got a point. I mean,
but just psychologically, it's interesting, isn't it, from the Wolves' point of view?
It is. I mean, Wolves are becoming the ultimate player hater now because they've taken points against Arsenal, Villa and now Liverpool. They don't even need the points. They're done. But Liverpool, Villa and Arsenal actually do need the 3 points. They've been really, really stingy. I think there's an element of them just now deciding, you know what, we are pretty much down. the pressure's off. When the pressure is off, you definitely express yourself better. But I think it's also, there's some good players in that Wolves team, like Wolves will go down, and a couple of the Gomez's, I really like Mane.
A couple.
Well, two out of the four.
There's like 8 of them out there, but 2 of the 8, how many they've got, are really good. I think they'll get picked up. Mane, I'm a big fan of. Mosquera, I think, has been... I've been impressed with him as well. I think he'll get bought. And even the keeper, who I thought made a really, really good save and then messed it up by the Salah goal, I thought he's got to save that. So he kind of had a bit of a weird 10-minute period. But yeah, I think it's the lack of pressure on them is allowing them to now just play. But also there's some actual good players in that team who I'm sure will get picked up in the summer.
I mean, that's going to be interesting, isn't it? But Rodrigo Gomez's finish, I thought, was absolutely sensational.
Amazing.
Exquisite, wasn't it? The first touch, thought it'd taken it a bit too far, but then just with this sort of inside foot, almost his right foot, just poked it past the keeper. That was sensational. A little bit of, I don't know, discourse about whether Virgil van Dijk was fouled. It wasn't too much in that, was there? And then, yes, as you mentioned, Liverpool equalised with a goal that perhaps Jose Sarr should have saved. And then the winner took a massive deflection. It almost was in slow motion, wasn't it? You could see Alisson's of his agonised, painful face going, yeah, I'm not getting this. Seb, I don't know how much you've covered Wolves, but we've seen teams that have been all but relegated sort of sink and basically not win at all and look, destitute and just kind of not playing at all. This actually could be really, really good for them in terms of the bounce for next season.
3 times I've covered Wolves live this season, they haven't lost. And in all 3 games, there's an argument that they should have won all 3 games. Did them against Villa at home, did them at Old Trafford, and did them at Spurs as well. They're really unfortunate in that game. João Paulinho scored with the last kick of the game, and Spurs were very lucky, and they might need that point by the end of the campaign. But Rodrigo Gomez scoring yesterday, he became their top scorer with 3 goals. And there lies their problem, really. And the fact that Strand Larsen went through the whole season not scoring for them and then they sold him for that money. They've been in this position for a while now. You've got the sense that all the players leaving, they're not being replaced with that potential quality to kick on. And of course, Jordan mentioned that there are players that are going to leave in the summer. And that's the eternal problem, isn't it, for certain clubs? And Wolves have fallen into this trap of not being able to replace the players that have gone. I'm pleased for Robert Edwards in this scenario because you just want supporters to have their moment even if they're going down, because for supporters, we keep saying this all the time, that every game supporters need moments in seasons. Most supporters know they're not going to win anything, so they just need to see their team win big matches. To beat Villa felt big, to beat Liverpool feels huge, to come back from 2 goals down against Arsenal, and that probably did free the players up. And I think we need that to remind again that idea of, despite all the bashing the Premier League's getting, it is a competition where the bottom side in this, and we're literally seeing it, has just beaten the champions, and not many leagues around Europe have that sort of situation.
It was great. Great celebrations from Rob Edwards, who launched the ball on the cone into the crowd full pelt and then ran down the touchline. It was great stuff. I guess frustration for Wolves fans is like, where was this earlier in the season? Because they're just going to run out of games, aren't they? On to Liverpool. Opta tweeted that they've lost 5 games thanks to 90th minute goals in the Premier League this season, the most of any single side in a single campaign in the competition's history, which is pretty damning stuff, isn't it? I mean, they look lost. We should again reiterate, and this was brought home with the applause on 18th minute for Diogo Jota from the Wolves fans, because that's the number he wore for Wolves, and the 20th minute because that's the number he wore for Liverpool. So of course that's always in the background from this Liverpool side. But it just seems like, Barry, these games, when it kind of became a sort of basketball match, they just totally lose control and they can't get it back.
For that winner that Wolves scored, Liverpool's midfield basically disappeared, and they offered Wolves freedom of the park. The thing of conceding late goals happens too frequently just to be an anomaly, and one wonders what is the cause of it. Is it just a lack of concentration? I don't know. Is the answer. And none of us seem sure of how the death of Diogo Jota would affect the players this season. Lots of people were prepared to give them a pass. Lots of people are insistent that it shouldn't have any effect on their performances whatsoever. I don't buy that for a second. But I just think it is something to do with that so many of their big name players are not playing well this season, and that is bound to have an effect. Mo Salah has been poor. I know he scored last night, but he did little or nothing else, and his goal was a little fortunate. Gravenberch hasn't been good, and I think he's probably their most important player. Virgil van Dijk, like the way he was bullied yesterday for that first goal was, I don't know. I don't think he was fouled, but he shouldn't let himself be bullied like that. Cody Gakpo isn't at it really. Curtis Jones didn't play well last night. Alisson his distribution isn't as good as we've come to expect. So if big name players like that are not performing, then it's obviously going to have a detrimental effect on results.
The question for me, Robyn, is how does this change? So if we look forward to next season, and if we all bake in the reaction, the response to a tragedy, summer gone, I mean, okay, it'll be a year on from that, but a lot of those players are still going to be mourning and they're still going to feel the loss of Jota. So for me, it's how does this change? Do those players, as Barry was saying, just get 20% better? I mean, maybe it's just a case of a handful of their big players just need to go from a 4 out of 10 to a 7 out of 10, and you'll see, I don't know, 10 more points on the board. But I'm thinking to myself, how does this get better? Because tactically, I don't know what's going on there. They haven't got bad players. So I just can't help but think to myself, okay, let's fast forward to next season. How does this change? How does this improve? I can't quite answer that question.
That's a really good question, I think, because, yeah, obviously we know grief isn't linear, is it? And it's not just going to go away. I think maybe a fresh start to the season might help. But also, I mean, Stephen Warnock was saying on 5 Live, he doesn't expect Arne Slot to be there next season. Now, I'm not saying that's going to kind of wipe the slate clean in terms of, Diego Jota stuff. But Seb, I don't know what your view on that is. That, I mean, I still was quite surprised by that remark. This was before the result, but obviously Xabi Alonso sort of lurking in the background as well.
I mean, Xabi Alonso, that's felt like something that should happen for for a couple of years now. Whether it does or not, it's all about timing, isn't it, with football? Liverpool are strange. This game, I know we've spoken about this game a lot already, but Wolves' first effort on goal was their first goal. It was Rodrigo Gomez's effort. I mean, they were on course for being, the latest for a side to have a shot on goal in a match this season. I think Burnley's was the 86th minute in one of their games earlier in the campaign. So they've been in that situation a lot, Liverpool, where they've dominated the ball and they've actually struggled to try and find a way through, and then they've looked weak at the back. That's a really difficult balance to overcome, and often teams, the biggest sides, overcome it through 2 reasons. They buy another big player, as we've seen City do. City have sealed up their back line. They got players back from injury. They bought Mark Gahey, and now they look stronger at the back, and they've got a fantastic goalkeeper. So Liverpool, that's the area you feel they'll need to address first if they're to fix it. Slot's interesting because he just had this amazing situation where he came into a club, won the league, so he's on that high. He's always going to come under pressure. The tipping point will be how Liverpool exit the season, because if they do what Liverpool have done in the past, they go on to win the Champions League, for example, those things carry a lot of weight for that club. So I don't think it's a decision we can even think of until Liverpool are out of the picture in all competitions.
And they also are still in the FA Cup, where they play Wolves on Friday night. And that's kind of got a little bit more interesting, actually, now, off the back of this. So, yeah, look forward to that one. Moving on, Everton 2, Burnley 0. Everton's first home win in 6. And, yeah, I mean, Barry, David Moyes was asked about Everton going into Europe after this game.
Yeah, I think it's possible. I can't make up my mind whether Everton are overperforming or underperforming, because they're much higher than I thought they would be, but I think they would be higher still if they had a decent striker. I seem to say this about Everton every episode, so I apologise. This was a good win for them, but Burnley, it was arguably Burnley's worst performance of the season. They offered nothing. They were absolutely dismal. I think Everton's first goal came from a set piece. James Tarkowski unmarked at a free kick. James Garner, a good free kick from him. And then the second goal was a nice move with a weighted pass from Iliman and Jai to Dewsbury Hall. And his finish over Dubravka was nice, tidy finish from him. But and then arguably the moment of the game was Idrissa Gana Gay's wonderful shot from outside the area that curled and hit the bar. And we got another super save from Jordan Pickford towards the end. And I think that was all Burnley had to offer, that one chance. You know, we've seen Everton in Europe before. And if they were to qualify for the Conference League, then, you know, any Premier League side in the Conference League should win the Conference League, I think, but that won't always be the case. It hasn't always been the case, but it probably should be, given the financial advantage they have over other teams.
My only takeaway from this game was, as Barry mentioned there, Jordan Pickford, because looking ahead to the World Cup, all the talk has been about, you know, who's the backup to Harry Kane, who plays in the number 10, who will be the left back. And it seems to be the one position that no one's talking about, and understandably so, is the goalkeeper. And I just think his performances in recent weeks have just reminded everybody that he's one of the best keepers in the league. I don't know if he's in the world-class bracket. I think there are 3 or 4 better than him. But he's definitely reminded people, you know, ahead of this World Cup, that England do have a very, very, very good goalkeeper alongside a top elite world-class centre-forward and great options in the number 10 spot. So he's really just kind of, peacocking, if you like, ahead of the World Cup.
That's a really good phrase for it, actually, and he loves doing that, doesn't he? Another sort of, I don't know, sort of a facial expression of, "Ooh, aren't I good?"
He loves it. He loves it.
Yeah,
he loves it.
I'm here for it. A couple of, I mean, the highlight for me was the kickoff. I mean, TNT thought it was so good they tweeted it. It was just like they kicked off and it was an up and under. You know, great stuff. 90s football is back.
But apparently that happens in the EFL, I was told, quite regular. Like, it's not that uncommon, I'm told, in the EFL. Someone said to me last night. So TNT making a big deal of it is fine. But if you watch EFL football, apparently that's not uncommon.
Well, they don't have the rights to the EFL. It's all about that, isn't it? You know? Yeah, Dewsbury Hall with a fantastic goal. He is a really classy operator, but he really should have done the snooker cue celebration, shouldn't he? Because of this story. I mean, fantastic stuff, isn't it? So yeah, he gave an interview with the Daily Mail when he was playing with Liverpool, when he was playing at Leicester under Brendan Rodgers. Brendan Rodgers organised a pool tournament, and he said that Kieran Dewsbury Hall was playing for a pub team at 10 years old. I mean, that should have been questioned a bit more, I think. That no one kind of picked up on that. But anyway, that aside, he's good at playing pool. And he was drawn against Brendan Rodgers in the first round of this pool tournament. And he said to the lads, "Do I try my hardest?" And he did, because apparently Brendan Rodgers was telling everyone how good at pool he was. And yeah, he said he beat him 3-0. 3-0. He said he was raging. He said, "Sorry, gaffer." And a week later, he was sent out on loan to Blackpool. So yeah, I mean, fantastic story, Seb. I mean, can you? I think I believe that. Don't know Brendan Rodgers well, but I can believe that.
Yeah, it'd be a strange thing for him to lie about, I have to say, at this point in time. But I mean, he's a player who's recovered his career from that situation where somebody's playing well and then they move to a club competing for the top honours, don't get a look in, and then you think, can they rebuild after that? And he's doing it at Everton. He's a key player for them, to the point where he's in the England conversation. Unfortunately for him, it's in a position where England have so many options, so it's pretty unlikely that he's going to get a look in from Thomas Tuchel. But to divert a bit, it did make my heart sink a bit when I heard David Moyes talking about set pieces in a negative sense, because I thought to myself, well, Moyes taught Arteta everything he knows, you would have thought, in that regard.
Yeah, come on, mate.
And to be in a position now where he's complaining about it, or he's not complaining about it, but he's pointing it out. Everton scoring their first goal from a set piece. And I'll go back to what you said at the start of this. They are a funny team, Everton, because you do feel like they should be doing better. They should have had better results, but they are in an excellent position, and one they would have loved to have been in several seasons in the last decade or so. So I think, again, it's that position of, can they kick on from here and get into Europe? Because it is the cliche to say, but you feel like that club needs a European campaign. They're that sort of club you feel that they just need one. And if it is the Conference League, then they can push on and try and win that competition. But there's so many teams in the mix for it. So it's, again, even though we're right on the business end now, I think, is it business end? Maybe one game away from business end? I'm not sure.
Maybe next week.
Yeah, next week. Let's get a couple of more rounds of cup action out the way, and then we're into the business end.
We will decree.
Just going back to the pool match.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, Barry, is there a lesson there that you need to let the boss win?
Well, I don't know about that, but Brendan Rodgers strikes me very much as that guy in the pub who brings his own two-piece queue and has a name for it, and he puts the case down on the table and flicks open the latches at each end, and screws his pew. He has his own choke as well, and
it's the Big Lebowski,
insists on brushing the table down before the tournament starts.
Chewing gum.
In my local pub, the guys on the pool team take it incredibly seriously. It is. And if they have a home match, it's like being at the Crucible Theatre. Like if anyone makes a noise or heaven forfend encroaches through the playing area to visit the toilet, it's frowned upon seriously.
That's probably where the comparison ends, the flushing of toilets and the coughing and the pints and but that's lovely stuff.
I wanted to reference the Big Lebowski if anybody's seen that film, but Jesus Quintana, who was the flashy player, I could just picturing Brendan Rodgers' head and that purple, I think it's that purple shirt he had on, and then just up steps Dewsbury Hall just to take him apart on the pool table. Magic stuff. There's a film in there somewhere.
Riposte. Yeah, and I can't wait for Brendan Rodgers' riposte. I know he's managing in Saudi now. Maybe get Gary Cottrell over there to ask the question. He's the man, isn't he? He's the man.
Yeah.
That's it for part one. In part two, we'll do the rest of last night's games and look ahead to the Premier League fixtures tonight. Welcome back to the Guardian Football Weekly. Leeds 0, Sunderland 1. Barry, you said in the WhatsApp group this was a truly dreadful spectacle.
This was one of the worst football matches I've ever seen. Now, Sunderland won. That's great. They've got to 40 points. They're safe. They were safe anyway. But it was horrendous viewing. The first half, Melker Elberg started in goal for Sunderland because Robin Roos is out with a hamstring injury. So Elberg's this guy they brought in January because Anthony Patterson, the goalkeeper who was ever present last season as they got promoted, he went off to Millwall unknown because he wanted to obviously get some game time under his belt. So this young Swedish fella came in and he kept a clean sheet on his Premier League debut, so that was good. Granit Xhaka was started on the bench, presumably a legacy of the crunching tackle he suffered at the hands/feet of Tyler Adams at the weekend. Yeah, so Sunderland scored with their only shot on target, which was a bad penalty taken by Habib Diarra, and Carl Darlow probably should have saved it. He got a lot on it, but couldn't keep it out. Leeds were denied a penalty. There was a lot of time wasting from Sunderland. Arguably, the highlight of the game was Luke O'Nien going to take a long throw in, only to discover that Sean Longstaff, who was warming up on the touchline, had stolen his towel and run away with it. so he couldn't dry the ball off. And then later on, Luke O'Nien, Leeds were on the attack. There was 2 balls on the pitch for some reason, so Luke O'Nien kicked the spare one that Leeds didn't have into play, so that the ref had to stop play, and that was an interesting way of stopping that particular attack. Leeds had a goal disallowed, and it was grim. It was really grim, and the only good thing about it was the result for Sunderland. But Leeds, I think, have every right to feel aggrieved, A, at the time wasting, and B, the penalty they should have got but didn't, for Luke O'Nien grabbing, I think it was Pascal Strike around the neck and shoving him to the ground.
Luke 09 is, I mean, he's a proper shithouse, isn't he? He always has been, but it's because he's quite small and quite cheeky chappy. I think he kind of gets away with it, doesn't he? But he's proper. Every game I've seen of him, he's the dark arts are there for him.
I was a huge admirer of his, and I still am, but I felt slightly let down when video emerged of him at some conference somewhere during the summer, and he's gone full high performance. And he along with another famous high performance advocate tells his children to be the light in the room when he sends them off to school every day. And he was coming out with all this gobbledygook, which I found quite dispiriting. But I do admire him as a player, and he certainly owes Sunderland nothing.
I thought Barry was going to say he was like, it's some far right content, but it was actually worse.
That's lovely stuff.
Yeah. Just to be clear, Luke 09 is not a Nazi.
Let's be clear. A shit house, but not a Nazi.
Drinking avocado milkshakes is a game changer.
Leeds lost their record of 22 home games unbeaten in games that kicked off at 7 o'clock or later, a stat that can well and truly get in the bin. Seb, I don't know about you, when you go through those stat packs, that one is not one that I'd be pulling out in particular. But Leeds, again, a bit like the weekend, unlucky, you'd say, and kind of definitely in games and in this relegation fight. Well, they're out of the relegation zone at the moment. Yeah,
the fact that it's still close to that area reflects, actually, they've been unfortunate in so many games this season. And they are a really physical side, but they've also had, I mean, Stack for me has really stood out in the games I've seen him. He's looked like a real handful for the opposition to deal with. He's driven the team forward. And Ellen Road's fantastic atmosphere does really spur the team on. There was always that sense of, would they have enough quality per se? But at the moment, they're still looking over their shoulder, and it's a shame from their point of view, because they could have been in a position where they could have opened that gap, because the sides below them keep losing. But they just can't quite get away. And I feel for Daniel Farke, because the end of the City game full time, I've never seen a man look so angry. But weirdly, this game might hurt more. Because they dominated the ball, and they would have felt another. They should have had a penalty, of course, and it was a sucker, because that goal, the penalty incident, came, I think, 20 seconds after the Rodon goal had been ruled out. I mean, talk about mood swings in a stadium. Goodness me.
And Daniel Farke said after that he will never jog again after he got that red card, which I think, it's a bit extreme, but yeah.
He will.
Yeah.
Just on Seb's point there briefly, I mean, like every, I guess, target for every team in the Premier League, I think peaking at the right time is really important. And I just wonder, because Leeds had a really good period, if I'm not mistaken, December, January, they got some really good results, and you thought, okay, they're going to be fine. And as Seb says, for all of the good work they've done in the last couple of months, they're still not that far clear. And I just wonder if they have peaked at the wrong time, in a way that West Ham arguably seem to be kind of peaking at the right time. I know they've not had great results, but West Ham seem to be on the up, in the way that Leeds, for their good period in the last couple of months, they should be 5, 6, 7 points safer than they are. And I just fear for Leeds that, they may have got their good results, if you like, 6 weeks too early.
Yeah, no, there's still time for another peak. We're not quite at the business end, as we've...
True. Can I add, Robin, that Leeds do have to go to Spurs, they do have to go to West Ham, and they do have Wolves.
They'll be fine then, they'll be fine.
Exactly. They'll be fine. Well, I'm saying it's a good position for them to be in, and they do have Wolves and Burnley at home still to come. So it's that, they're still in a very strong position to get out, and safety is everything for them, obviously.
Absolutely. Bournemouth 0, Brentford 0. Bournemouth's 13th draw this season. They really should have won this one. And the main talking point, Barry, was the non-penalty. This was Tavernier hit the post, but as he was doing that, just a little tap from Coyote. And Robbie Savage on TNT was seething. He said that was a penalty, clear as day.
Yeah, I agree. And I think if Tavernier had gone down, he would have got it, but he didn't. He took the shot instead and didn't score, didn't get a penalty. So I would agree with Robbie Savage on that one. I think Bournemouth should have won this. This is probably the best of the 4 games, to be honest. even though there weren't any goals. And Bournemouth they hit the woodwork a couple of times. Krupi had what looked a certain goal deflected onto the post at the end off one of his own teammates. Unal's, I think his shot hit Unal's inner thigh and went onto the post. But they should have won this, and they're drawing too many games.
And it's actually Brentford who look more in pole position to get a European place, but still a way to go. On to tonight's games. So big clashes at the top and the bottom of the league, and in the European race, Aston Villa against Chelsea. This looks very tasty, and Villa fans, you can turn off now. Jordan, as our Villa beta. Would you like to comment on this? 2 wins and 8 for Villa. Still Emery conceding the title. Fair enough. But wanting to get in the Champions League. Are you saying they were never in it?
Well, I don't want to say it, but you said it for me. But anyway, we can move past that. I'm not going to lie. There's no tears on my pillow about Villa slipping out of potentially the top five race. I just think, again, the timing of their midfield injuries has really killed them. It's really, really harmed them. But, at least they'll have an extra man to play against Chelsea when they clash tonight. So they have that in their back pocket. I personally would prefer to see Villa in the top 5 rather than Chelsea, just because I think an accumulation of the last 2-3 years of work, they've kind of earned it. I know it doesn't work like that, but I feel like they've done the right things to be competitive. And I think for them to, and I didn't have them as title contenders ever, but that was the narrative for them to go to do that well, to even be spoken in that light, to not even qualify for the Champions League, I think would be massively disappointing and unfortunate for them.
Sorry, you do realise they're fourth, yeah?
I know, but the momentum seems to be that they're going to be the ones that's slipping out. That's the way it seems to be going. So I hope they can maintain a top 4, top 5 slot and do it. As for Chelsea, I think Liam Rosenior has had a decent start to his tenure at Chelsea. But we know that Chelsea need Champions League football too. For their model to be successful, it'd be a disaster for them to miss out. And I think the loser of this game then becomes the favourite to miss out in that race, in my opinion.
And who will be the red card tonight? It's like traitors, isn't it?
That's the question.
Yeah. Brighton against Arsenal. Brighton have won the last 2, having a bit of a wobble before that. A lot of discourse, Seb. Again, as we mentioned, this set pieces, they're getting a bad rap. And it's, I think, just jealous. Everyone's just jealous of Arsenal, aren't they? That's just jealousy.
Yeah, that seems to be the story of this season, is that there's a lot of fan bases that aren't happy with where their clubs are. And I think in recent years, obviously, City have been so dominant, but so many clubs in the league are a bit indifferent to City in terms of the players on the pitch. Obviously, the club is a different matter, but in terms of the players on the pitch, they quite like some of the players. I found it interesting when Rodri said everybody wants us to lose in his little rant that's, getting him in trouble. But I don't think that, of course, that's not true. I don't think people think about City in that way.
Not sure.
The reason I'm talking about the club. The club is under this situation where everyone's waiting for these charges. I think the players on the pitch, it seems like everybody would think, if it was Man United at the top, people would think, oh, anyone but Man United. When it's Liverpool at the top, it's anyone but Liverpool. If it's Arsenal at the top, it's anyone but Arsenal. Because these are the huge clubs in the league that have had these huge fan bases that have big influences. But in this case, I think there is some truth to what people are saying about the criticism of the set-piece situation. And that comes to the fact of, when you watch Arsenal play, they're not a free-flowing attack. Often teams are in a position where they stifle Arsenal. And if they are to trip up at the back end of the season, it is going to be that their attack lets them down in matches where they're trying to respond to issues in the game. City have been a side where, even if they went 1-0 down to Forest tonight, you'd believe in their ability to rally and turn the game around. If Arsenal fall 1-0 down to Brighton tonight, you'd wonder how that game would play out. Even if they went 1-0 up, would they just hold on to that advantage and maybe come under huge pressure? That's understandable because of the time it's taken for them to get over the line here. And if they do, that might free them up. And this is the thing. Again, it goes back to what we said about Liverpool. the end of the season will obviously dictate how we feel about the whole situation. If Arsenal get over the line, the supporters won't care at all. Not at all. But if they don't get over the line, it will be the stick to beat them with. And that's from Arsenal's own supporters as well as fans of other clubs.
Is this the least enjoyable title race? As an Arsenal supporter, it just seems like no one's enjoying it.
Yes, I mean, I'm not loving it. It's not particularly fun, but the reason why I'm not loving it is because I think I'm the only Arsenal fan on the planet that actually does think style of play and how you win it does matter. My view is that football as a fan is to be enjoyed, and I think the winning isn't the only thing that I take enjoyment out of. I always say to my friends, when Arsenal win the title, I don't get a medal. I don't get a win bonus. I don't get a goal bonus. I don't get a trophy. So 9 months of investment supporting this team, financial time and effort. What do I get out of it? I want moments. I want memories. I want to watch Arsenal play and see some good football. I'm not expecting 5-0 every single game. There's no entitlement to free-flowing football every single game. Of course not. But I think a team with the resources that Arsenal have, the players that Arsenal have, I don't think it's an unrealistic expectation to be at least competitive and play a brand of football that's easier on the eye. So for me, it's not enjoyable, but it's not enjoyable because I can think of a handful of games where Arsenal have played attractive football and won, and that for me isn't good enough. If Arsenal win the league, of course, there'll be inquests and there'll be uproar because it's been 22 years and you can't be top of the league for this long and then fall off. But for me, it's much more. You can. Well, this is true.
Mick McCarthy here.
There you go.
You can.
But just finally from me on the corner thing quickly, I find the whole corner chat so bizarre. And you said at the start, Robyn, I think it's just jealousy. I think a lot of fans are just jealous. It blows my mind why, with the fact that we score from so many corners, it's such a talking point. It's like, what should they do? Not try and score from corners. Like the whole point of a corner is you try and threaten the goal. We've found a way to make it a weapon of ours. It's really boring and bizarre for me. This whole corner chat for me, I found it weird the entire season. If I'm being honest.
Yeah, no, it is. It's like, oh, you're not good. You shouldn't have the title because you scored too many corners. It's kind of it's mad, isn't it? It's part of the game. But it is.
I can't understand why Arsenal fans are so concerned about what other people think about their team. I don't care what other people think about how Sunderland play. I don't think other people should respect Sunderland.
It's the tension, isn't it? Barry?
I do not care.
Do you know why, Barry? I think you're right, but I think it's because Arsenal in the kind of Wenger era have been seen as the footballing team, and I think we take pride in the fact that our team has had artists and play great football and Wenger ball. So, and I think we kind of buy into that as Arsenal fans. So when other people say, "Well, actually, you're just Stoke, you're just Shrewsbury, you're just a mid-table League One team," I think some fans take that to heart because they pride themselves on playing a brand of football.
They are just Stoke with a bigger budget.
Fair point. Fair point.
Denning on the usual.
Has anyone actually watched Stoke recently, by the way?
Play prettier football than Arsenal do, but Arsenal are far much higher up in the league than them, so...
Well, Stoke wish they'd have a few more goals at the moment from any which way. Anyway, but yes,
just on the game, just on the game briefly. Before Seb comes back in, it's a big game. I know that every game's a big game at this point of the season, but I've singled out since before we started recording this game and the Newcastle home game are the two that I have weird butterflies in my stomach about. And if they can overcome those two fixtures, I know people say the Man City game is big. Yeah, of course it is, but these are the two where I genuinely fear we could drop points. And Brighton on 2 seasons have actually harmed Arsenal's title chances at this stage of the season. So there's a little bit of PTSD, but it's a game that Arsenal need to come through, if only to keep City honest.
Down the bottom, Fulham against West Ham. West Ham really need a result. And I think the best thing in the build-up to this was Adama Traore's gym ban. He's been banned from the gym by Nuno Espirito Santo. Banned from doing weights. It says, I've told him to stay out of the gym. It's one of the things that I think he needs to realise. It's enough weight that he carries. That's enough, Adama. He'll do prevention work, but not there lifting weights. He also, what was brilliant was that he threw an under-21 defender under the bus. This guy over here, Aridas Glambekis, saying, for him, for example, he spends hours at the gym, he needs it, right? To get weight on it, which is great. And it just, I don't know, it reminded me of like a sort of one of those men who have unwarranted confidence chatting up a woman saying, I've just been banned from the gym because I'm just too just can't even go anymore.
Too
I've just completed it. Yeah, not even allowed in there anymore. But yeah, so that's my preview to that game. City against Nottingham Forest. Barry, Vitor Pereira hasn't won this season the Premier League. Are we expecting a clear City win here?
You'd think so. And yes, I wouldn't be massively surprised if they drop points. But that's all I have to say about that.
Fair enough. We'll see what happens.
Sorry, Robyn, that's destroyed me.
It had me
great.
as well.
I'm glad. I'll add it to my set list.
That's so funny.
Newcastle against Man United. Now, this is an interesting one. And Seb, you're on commentary duty for this one. And I think actually the narrative's been Michael Carrick returning home almost.
Yeah. It's such a lovely story. Obviously, his links with Newcastle in the North East and everything else. But he is Mr. Man United at the moment. And I can't find to me, from the outside, he just has to have the job. I don't see why you wouldn't give him the job. Why would you bring somebody in? They win a lot of football matches. They drive you to your only target at this stage of the campaign. Why would you then replace them? And I feel like Manchester United are in a position where when things are going well, they just need to keep riding that wave, because Amorim didn't do it. Every time there was a good moment, he then changed things again and they went back to where they were, or Sir Jim Radcliffe said something and then they went back again and kept taking a step back every time they took a step forward. So this time round, I think I've watched pretty much all of their games since Carrick took charge, and there is a freedom about their attack. Their attack looks dangerous. You look at their signings, all of a sudden they all seem to be perfect in the attacking areas. They seem to work really well. And that positivity might go back to that freedom element we were talking about earlier with Wolves, whereby, Wolves have nothing to lose. Man United have nothing to lose the way they're playing. They've got one game to focus on per round, one competition to focus on, and they have the quality in attack. And the defence, Maguire's back in that defence. They look a bit more solid. They're still conceding chances, and the Palace game was an interesting one. It wasn't going their way, but things turned. But there is a relentlessness about their attack in the same way I think City have that at times as well, that really can get you going at this stage of the season. It can take you to where you need to go, because the attack is, we talk about defences taking teams to titles and things like that. I just think you've got to have that X factor in your front line when things get tight and you need somebody to pull you out of trouble. And that's how I see Manchester United at the moment. Newcastle, on the other hand, not in a great place, but they are still in a position where they can still rescue something from this campaign. If they could overcome Man City in the Cup, if they can have a great night against Barcelona, it's something to take from a campaign that might look back on as a pretty poor one for them and feel like a club going backwards.
Just going back to United, sorry, Robyn, to Seb's point, I don't think I disagree with his take on Michael Carrick, but to play devil's advocate, it isn't riding the wave too far what got them in trouble a couple of times before. So Ollie kind of got them feeling really, really good, and they kind of ran with that a bit premature. And Ten Hag, did they not?
Did he ever wave, Ten Hag? He won the trophy, but
he won the cup, and then he thought, right, okay, we're going to keep you. When I think the common consensus, as has been proved, they probably should have then said, thank you very much, but let's leave it there. So I'm just wondering if that's the counter. Do they have to make a decision right now? I think if this continues, Carrick probably should be at least a front runner for the job. But if Luis Enrique comes on the market, is that the sort of kind of gravitas of a manager that you kind of want to come in and grab that club by the throat to go to the next level? But like I said at the start, I don't disagree that Carrick, at the bare minimum, should be strongly considered.
Yeah, they almost want him to start losing so they can make the decision a bit easier for themselves. But yeah, we'll see. That should be an absolute cracker. Yeah, Newcastle seem to have kind of, they just performed for Champions League, so yeah, should be a really interesting game, that one. That'll do for part 2. In part 3, we'll chat Lionesses, a bona fide cup set, and the curious case of Felipe Luis. Welcome to part 3 of the Guardian Football Weekly. So yes, women's Euro qualifiers, and Seb, you were on commentary duty. Busy guy for this one. England playing in a slightly strange atmosphere in Turkey against Ukraine for obvious reasons, as you said. 6-1 win, a great start, because as we keep saying, goal difference in this World Cup qualifying campaign could be huge.
Yeah, it's where England have come unstuck in previous Nations League campaigns, where they've been another strong team in the group, be it Spain, be it Netherlands, be it France, and they've beaten that side in one match and lost in the other, per se, and it's been goal difference that's cost them, or drawing against another side in the group. Ukraine are the weakest side in the group, but Spain beat Iceland 3-0 yesterday as well. And it was interesting, England had so much of the ball. I mean, it was one of the most dominant first halves you could ever think of. I think Ukraine didn't complete a pass in the final third in the whole half, but it was 0-0 at half-time, and it felt like the moment that Spain kicked off their game a bit later, then England kicked into action with the reminder of just have to win this game and win it well. And by the end, they overwhelmed Ukraine, we'll be honest about it, and showcased the depth that they all often show in games like this. The thing that really was striking in a game like this was early in the game, Nicole Kozlova, the Ukrainian forward, picked up a really bad injury. And because the ground was empty, I think there was about 250 people there because of the aforementioned reasons, you could hear her distraught. You could hear her effectively wailing. And it was quite tough, actually. One of the moments in the season where you're thinking, it'd be nice if they just, turn the volume down on this, because this is somebody going through a lot here. She'd spoken so well in the lead up to the game about the struggles of the Ukrainian team and not being able to play at home. And in this huge game, she plays for Glasgow City, and it felt like a huge match for her, and it lasted less than 10 minutes. And that was a real tough thing to take, and you could hear all the instructions from the touchline. It felt a bit like, watching during COVID period. But England were professional in the end. They are a side I still think that going forward into this cycle, and by the way, the word cycle, talking about World Cups and things like that, feels like more of a modern thing. I don't remember growing up using the word, this is the World Cup cycle, but I feel like I'm using it more and more nowadays, but that's how it is. With this particular cycle, it feels that Serena Wiegmann's looking at, can I just add those players just to fill in the little holes? She still knows who our strongest side is, I believe. But can we just get, a left-footed left back in who can just be in the squad if we need it, somehow find a ball player in midfield to complement Kira Walsh, but still relying on those vital players. And one final thing, Georgia Stanway doesn't get enough love, I don't think, in all the talk.
Agreed.
If you ask most people to mention an England player in the street, she'd be one of the ones they'd forget about, yet she is one of the first names on the team sheet, and she was excellent last night.
No, agreed. And also, probably the pick of the goals, that Jess Park, who's had a fabulous season with Manchester United. Just a beautiful sort of, it's not a lob, but sort of a dinked over the keeper, but it was so powerful. It was, just a great angle of that. Faye Carruthers and Susie Rack will be all over this on Guardian Women's Football Weekly, which is out tomorrow, wherever you get your podcasts, rounding up all the World Cup qualifiers and all the other news from the women's game. In the Asia Cup, we should just mention that Iran's women's team have been praised for their courage, having declined to sing their national anthem ahead of their opening match against South Korea in Australia on Monday. They're the only Middle Eastern team to qualify. It's their first fixture since the war in the Middle East began, and Iran's head coach, Marzieh Jafari, and her players declined to comment on either the war or the death of the long-serving Ayatollah when asked by the media, understandably. They will face the hosts Australia on Thursday. Talking of the Matildas, Sam Kerr scored her first goal in 851 days in her hometown of Perth. It was a lovely moment for her. She struggled for 2 years with a brutal ACL injury and all of that came afterwards. Only goal of the game as they beat the Philippines. And touching on the subject of the impending World War III, Fabrizio Romano has had his say. Whether it's independent or not, well, it's not, because he #ad, saying reports on international media about Cristiano Ronaldo left Saudi Arabia with his family are wide of the mark. It's fake news. Cristiano is now doing treatment at Al Nassr training ground after issues in his last game. Cristiano has not left Saudi to return to Madrid. And this was just a few hours. He posted a very strange 2-minute video in support of King Salman's Human Aid and Relief Centre, as I said, with the #ad. He goes into great detail about a range of humanitarian projects undertaken by the Saudi leader and his KS Relief Project. #, here we go. Barry, this is what he's here for, isn't it?
Yeah, it's quite something. He didn't mention the 347 executions Saudi Arabia carried out last year in this promotional video for the regime. Fabrizio, I mean, I have a certain admiration for him. He's carved out this incredible niche for himself. He's got over 27 million followers on social media. But now he has made the transition from journalist to paid state influencer. And he is a journalist that's taking money to legitimize a regime that has a history of suppressing, harming, and in one notable instance, murdering journalists. So that, obviously, I don't admire that. But at least he's blatant about it. I'll give him that. He makes no apologies for what he's doing. And it could be argued that Newcastle fans, local politicians in Newcastle, the local press, and some elements of the national press have all been shilling for the Saudi regime free of charge for several years now. So while I don't like what Romano is doing, at least he is blatant about it, unlike many others.
Yeah, he's getting paid for this, Jordan. This, I mean, joking aside, this feels very dangerous to me. Someone with this amount of followers spouting this stuff and being paid to do so.
Yeah, I mean, but as Barry says, he's not really hiding what's going on here, and I think those that with half a brain will disseminate whether they class him as a journalist anymore anyway. So I think it would be more concerning if he was trying to be convoluted or sly about it. It's quite clear I'm being paid a lot of money to spout certain lines about a particular regime, country, organization. I have less of an issue with that than I would other people who I think are trying to pretend like they are not what they are. So yeah, I don't consider him a journalist anymore. I'm sorry. I know that might not be cool to say, but I think it's quite clear what's going on here. So I almost appreciate, as Barry said, the openness about what he's doing. It's like, cool, we know what it is. Crack on.
Who's the target audience for what he's saying? Is it just a message to sort of float in the ether? I can't imagine anybody really just hearing a message and going, oh, that's really cool. I'm going to take this in my life, and it's going to... I've never really understood. I guess it's just something floating in people in the subconscious.
Well, there are a lot of football fans who hang on his every word.
Yeah.
But about his opinions when it comes to, this sort of thing. I mean, whether,
well, this
Cody
isn't
Gakpo
his
might leave
opinion.
or...
Well, one presumes it isn't his opinion. It's someone else's opinion. He's just parroting it.
Yeah, but with influencing, we've seen it more with, products and things. But you wonder going forward, it's going to be political campaigns, isn't it? They're going to be using social media influencers to make statements about things in a way we're not even ready for yet.
Well, in better news, happier news, especially if you're a Port Vale fan, bottom of the table, they beat Bristol City in their delayed FA Cup fourth round fixture 1-0. It went all the way to extra time. That is painful for Bristol City going there, having to go extra time and then being dumped out. Ben Wane's extra time winner means they have set up a fifth round tie against Sunderland. So yeah, great stuff for them. That will be on Sunday. Finally, on any other business, yes, this was quite a startling tale here. Former Chelsea defender Felipe Luis sacked as manager of Flamengo yesterday, hours after the Brazilian club recorded an 8-0 win. Now there has been precedent for managers sacked after wins, but 8-0 quite striking.
We want 9. We want 9.
Not good enough. He averaged a trophy every 14 games. I mean, they must have a lot of opportunities for trophies there. He led Flamengo to 7 titles in 100 matches in charge. But the plot thickens because reports have since emerged. The president of Flamengo discovered that he was negotiating with Chelsea's ownership group Blue Co. While the club was actively working to renew his contract. So clearly they did not like being slighted on that.
Apparently, Felipe thought he was being considered for the Chelsea job, but it was actually the Strasbourg job they had in mind for him. So when he found that out, he said, "Oh, bugger off! I'm staying with Flamengo." So now he's not got any job.
When did the penny drop? When they started talking about, I don't know, croissants and things, and not, I don't know. Interesting to see how far that went. And yes, finally, Neil Warnock is back, everyone, again. 77 years old. He's back in management. I thought the sort of the managerial merry-go-round on certain managers like Sam Allardyce, etc., who are now in Uber Eats adverts and possibly being paid nearly as much as Fabrizio Romano for that, were gone. But he's back in management. He's the new interim manager at Torquay after their manager Paul Wootton was sacked on Sunday. He managed the Gulls 33 years ago, has been working for them as an advisor for the last few years. And he said in his press conference, "It's a surprise for me to be here today. I thought I would have been at Tottenham or Forest or somewhere like that. I could do a better job, but they never asked me." So yeah, still very much on brand, Neil Warnock there. So that'll do for today. I think a wide range of topics covered there. Very pleased with that. Thank you very much, Barry.
Thanks, Robyn.
Thanks, Jordan.
Cheers, Robyn.
And thanks, Seb. Safe trip up to the northeast.
Absolutely. It's been very cordial between us today, hasn't it, Robyn? You know,
well,
could have been awkward
when the recording stops.
Yeah.
Yeah. BTS. You have to pay for that, though.